You know, every year I get lots of questions about how to prepare the garden for the next season. You know, fall's here, winter's coming, what can I do to get my soil ready for next year? And that's a great question, because fall is the best time to add organic matter, add nutrient, add compost into your garden to build that soil back up. So every year when we're out in the garden, you know, whether we're tilling or whether we're harvesting carrots or potatoes, you know, we're losing some of that soil every single year, either to erosion, to wind, to water. You know, we harvested the carrots and the potatoes and there's dirt on them, and we moved it somewhere else. You're constantly losing soil. So every year we've got to put organic matter back into the soil to build that soil back up, or gradually we're going to lose all of our valuable garden soil. And so what we like to do is add a variety of different materials, and that's really the key word, is variety. You don't want to use a lot of any one thing, because a lot of one thing can cause a lot of problems. So if you're using composted manure, even if it's really well composted manure, it can cause problems in your garden by bringing either salts in or too much nitrogen. It's too hot, burns your plants the next year. But if you use a variety of different materials, you know, some leaves and some grass clippings and some straw, and then some manure on top of that, you know, in quantities up to 2 or maybe 3 or even 4 inches total, you know, so maybe a ½ inch to an inch of 3 or 4 different materials, we're going to work that back into the soil. It's going to decompose over the winter, and your soil is going to be amazing and ready to grow the next year. So we use a combination of leaves and grass clippings. So as we pick up the leaves off the lawn in the fall, we'll chop those all up with the lawnmower, get some of the grass clippings, work that into it as well too. We've added straw to the garden. We've got a lot of you know, dead plant material we can work back into the soil, but we want to add some variety of different things as well too. So the soil building conditioner is one of my favorite additives to put in the fall. It's a finely ground redwood bark. It's been composted with poultry manure, bat guano, worm castings, kelp meal, and it's all been composted together. So it's mostly broken down, but it's a great way to build your soil back up, whether it's garden, flower beds, you know, vegetable garden. It's great to mulch your roses with as well too, but it's got all the ingredients to help build that soil back up. And what we're really looking for is a combination of carbon and nitrogen, and if we get that proper blend, all that material will decompose and break down throughout the winter time. So when I say carbon, we're talking about dry brown stuff, so straw, wood shavings, sawdust, you know, dried leaves, dried grass clippings. Those are all high in carbon. Your nitrogen base is going to be like manures. Anything green and wet is going to be nitrogen based, and we really want a balance of about 4 parts carbon to 1 part nitrogen to get that to mix and to break down through the winter time. Basically what we're doing is we're composting right out here in your garden instead of in the compost pile. So great way to improve clay soil, and I know there's a lot of people in Cache Valley and in northern Utah that have clay soils. The best way to break up clay is to add organic matter to it, because the organic matter keeps the clay particles from binding together. It fits in between the clay particles and it keeps them from binding up, so it loosens and lightens the soil up. So the soil building conditioner would be excellent for that. But another product called Eudolite, which has zeolite in it, it will keep those clay particles from binding up, and it holds moisture like crazy. So Eudolite is basically volcanic rock. It looks like cat litter, and so if you hold it in your hand, it looks like cat litter, but it has thousands of pores in it, and it absorbs up the moisture, it holds that moisture, and then releases it back out into the soil as the soil dries out. But it really helps break up clay soils, helps improve water penetration and absorption, and just will keep that soil from clumping up and turning into big dirt clods. So between adding a lot of organic matter, 3 or 4 different types in 2 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches, and then we're going to work that into the soil. But before we do that, we want to add some straight nitrogen. So this is ammonium sulfate, so it has 24% sulfur and 20% nitrogen in there. We're going to broadcast that over the whole garden just to supplement that nitrogen, because in the fall we end up with a lot lot of carbon, a lot of dry brown stuff, and so we want to add some nitrogen to that to help decompose that material a lot faster. And the ammonium sulfate, we use probably 4 to 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet to boost that nitrogen. The other thing we want to add in is right here, this humic. The humic is also a natural material. It's about 500,000-year-old fossilized compost, has lots of minerals, micronutrients, and most importantly, microbes and microorganisms in there that will help speed up that decomposition process. So between the organic matter of all the leaves and grass clippings and compost that we're going to put in there, soil building conditioner if you decide to go that way, we're going to add the humate to boost the microbes and microorganisms that decompose that material, and then we're going to feed them with a little bit more nitrogen to help them break that material down. And then this is the most important and the critical component. So once you get that all over your garden, you got to make sure and till that in. We want to incorporate that into the soil, so the natural microbes in your soil, boosted by the humate with the nitrogen to feed them, will decompose and break all that material down and make your garden soil just amazing for next year. So we've got some great options at Anderson Seed and Garden. This is the way to improve and build your soil up for next year, for the growing season, so that your garden will be even more successful in the future.